You've mentioned the whole question of accreditation and the two ISOs. I mean, is that the right system for maintaining quality in the system?
In my personal opinion, yes. I have to declare that I'm also the chair of the Regulator Specialist Group. The basic principles of 17025 and 17020 are good and firm principles. They're about validating and testing software and systems and processes, understanding your methods, having an overall quality management system in place for your organisation, understanding error. When errors occur, but then you are reporting those errors and you are fixing those errors. Your staff are competent to undertake the tasks that they're doing. They understand the complexities of that data that they are processing or interpreting. Auditing, what we call proficiency tests, where blind tests are sent to laboratories. An expert will then go through that test where someone else independently knows what the results of that test will be, and they go through it and they will check whether you have performed within that proficiency test. So my personal opinion is it's as good a standard as anything else that's out there.
The limitation is this, that ISO 17025 started out as a laboratory calibration standard. It has been adapted and extended. It works pretty well for a lot of traditional trace forensics, when you're simply saying run one particular test. We need the test to be properly designed, properly executed, and so on. And that was very much the view that you were getting from the Forensic Science Society witness earlier on this afternoon. The problem is that the tools we of necessity use contain lots and lots of bits of different knowledge. We have, I don't know whether you've had it demonstrated to you, but the way most of these tools work is you are presented with the total view of all the contents of a computer or a smartphone, and within that the result of lots and lots of reverse engineering, individual tests which are never by themselves actually being tested out, are displayed, and you have to make a guess as to whether you're going to accept it. So you can never have a proper accreditation of the sort of tools the vast majority of people use. And that was the point I think Angus Marshall was trying to make in the previous session as well. Now, Mark, I know, disagrees with me.
Fundamentally disagree.
But which will make it interesting for you.
Well, I happen to agree with Professor Sommer on this.
Okay, but all systems will have errors in them. We will never understand everything that's going on within complex systems. It's programming, it's very complex. But if we know nothing about those systems, that's even worse.
Well, it's not knowing nothing about systems. Is that test appropriate? Most of the forensic tools that we use are actually tested to within an inch of their lives by the companies who produce those tools. We're not allowed to reverse engineer them, because that would be legal anyway. And
that's
also,
not
it's
strictly true.
Okay.
So let me just try and unravel this for the benefit of lay readers. Let's put it like that.
Apologies.
Mr. Stokes, you finish first. What do you say?
At the end of the day, it comes back to what I was talking about earlier. It's ground truth data. It is very difficult. It is not like traditional forensic science. It is complicated. That's why some of the regulators' timescales are challenging, because to make up those data sets, make up's not the right word, develop those data sets that represent what someone would do on their device. So you know what data you're putting into the system, and then working through as an expert what comes out the other end, what you expect to come out the end, the errors that might be within that system. Take, for example, times and dates. They're a classical thing within digital forensics that can get misrepresented. So you would make sure you put in representative data that has times and dates that you know, and you will see what the system does and whether it reports those times and dates correctly. That's just one example.
so every update of Windows 10.
Now, one at a time, please.
Sorry,
It's
what's
not
missing
Windows
from
10,
this
it's the
is
tool, it's the testing and validation and the method you don't do for every variable. Within a tool, academics talking now, we'll have an argument amongst ourselves if
I'm
we're
not
not
an
careful.
academic, I'm a practitioner.
Practitioner. But within a method, the validation is of the method. You don't use every aspect of a tool. So you can focus down on what the process and method is that you're testing and validating, and the person acting upon and using those tools and undertaking that method is competent to do. And that's the scope of the validation.
Dr.
What's
Collie.
missing from this is the other mechanism that is available in the courts. You go back to the criminal procedure rules and how it covers expert evidence, and forensic science is a subset of it. The opportunity is for somebody to check something, and that's where the role of the defence expert is so key. The products that are used to perform the original analysis on the prosecution side are always going to be defective. If a defendant raises with his solicitor or her solicitor that they are dissatisfied with the results, the solicitor will then call in an expert who will track through all the work. And if the work has been properly documented according to the requirements of the criminal procedure rules, and they lay down extensive list of requirements of what ought to go in, then the defence expert provides that sort of backstop and reassurance that something is worthwhile. But the idea that you can accredit any of these tools that we use, I'm afraid, is, sorry Mark, delusional.
You're not accrediting the tool, you're accrediting the
The process.
methodology and the process. It's very different.
Yeah. Dr. Collie.
I actually want to throw the cat amongst the pigeons here slightly, because I don't think that the same tests and things that apply to DNA forensics apply to digital forensics. It's a different thing altogether. It's a different kettle of fish. Things like stuff that's out on the cloud, how can you recover that in a forensically sound way? How can you prove you've done it in a forensically sound way? The other thing is cost. And I heard some other witnesses speaking earlier. The cost of doing some of these standards is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Not only is it going to put some people out of business, a lot of police forces can't afford it. So what's going to happen is that police evidence could be rendered inadmissible if certain forces haven't managed to achieve the standard in time. And that's going to be quite a big one.
I don't think it'll ever be admissible. I think there's several things in there. That one, if clearly something is produced in error or by mistake, then the criminal justice system, along with the practitioners, both for the prosecution and defence, have a role in there to identify that. That's everyone in that system has a role to identify that. I do disagree that at the moment we do very little testing and validation in the past, and people are using these tools, so anything is better than what's happened before.
We got the message. The message is that in our report is that you guys need to get to a position where you can all agree.
I think that's going to be a very long time before we all agree on that, because
Well, that isn't going to help the criminal justice system.